If you had to look back over all the calls that you've done, what is the one call that you'd want to be remembered for?
I don't know that I've had it yet. Quite frankly, I'd like to think it is still ahead of me. I'd like to think that doing all these, it's like the stone cutter, right? And the stone cutter, living in this small village in Russia, is going down the road, and this gigantic boulder has now appeared and blocked off the road. And so he and then everybody in the village gets the hammer and the chisel, and they begin to bang at that road, right? At that boulder in the road. And it finally cracks on the 10,000th bang of the hammer on the chisel. But it wasn't that hit, that 9,999th hit that broke it. It was the 9,998 hits before it. And I'd like to think that all these games that I've been so fortunate to do will lead me to that moment when there is that great moment on the field or on the floor that I'm able to capture it. And I think waiting for that moment or hoping it comes or being ready for when it comes will be maybe my most memorable. I've done so many games, quite frankly, they kind of blend together. Some have stuck because social media has made them stick. But I guess in my heart, I'd like to think that like there's this call coming up that all those hits of my hammer on that chisel on that stone will be the one that finally breaks the stone in half. And that will be the one. But all the plays that I've done in all these games led to that call that made that stone split.
I had never before heard that stone in the road story. That is magnificent, and I love the analogy. Look, I'm going to ask you one last question that you do not need to answer now. You can give this all the thought you like. We can talk about it Super Bowl week. Suzy asked you, do you like NBA or NFL calls better? I'm going to ask you, put aside the NBA, put aside basketball entirely, put aside the NFL. If you were given the opportunity to call any Olympic sport, summer or winter, or you can pick one of each, what Olympic sport would you like to deliver the broadcast? You don't have to answer now. You can think about it.
That can be the next time that he comes on with the football.
Right.
All right. I would love to do it more of a descriptive, more than anything else. But, the great thing about TV, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, you don't have to say that much. That means that maybe it was a radio broadcast. That's what I enjoy about radio is that you got to, it hits every reporting sense, everything that you have to be in the business to begin with.
Yes, and it's my hypothetical. So in my hypothetical, you're doing it on the radio.
All right. Well, you've got to have the right pacing and cadence because a great moment told poorly is screwed up. But sometimes an ordinary moment told well is more impactful. So it may not even have to be something just gigantic, but the Olympics has that enormity and that massive feel to it. But in radio, you've got to use the right words. You've got to have the right inflection. You've got to have a lot of air in your lungs to deliver the call the way it needs to be delivered. And that challenge to get all those things wrapped into one call is like the purest part of broadcasting. Sometimes on TV, you see a great catch. You don't have to say anything. You can, let the crowd serve as the orchestra and let that carry it. But on radio, it's everything because if the theater of the mind is the most powerful, if your imagination is the most powerful, emotion you have, or one of the most powerful things that you possess, just think what you could do with your words and your inflection and the cadence of a call of a play or a moment at the Olympics or the Super Bowl. So that's why like moments like last night in Seattle with the rain coming down and the team trying to stay alive in the playoffs and the enormity of that play and the kid who's off the bench and kind of been forgotten, quite frankly, by a lot of the NFL, comes in and for one moment, his pass is perfect, knifing through the rain to this young rookie receiver who's covered in the end zone and throws over his back shoulder as the end zone is closing in and the sideline is closing in, and he makes this catch. Those are the moments that you really savoring. And hopefully you find the right words and the cadence and the feel for the moment that you present it the right way for people that are listening. And that's what makes radio so great. TV, we see it, that's one thing. But when like some of those reports from World War II and Edward R. Murrow's standing on rooftops in London describing the bombing of London during World War II, sometimes you don't need to see it. His words and the sounds of the bombs, and, he tells you what he smells and what he looks on the streets and sees. Those are the things that's what got me to love radio as much as I do.
Check out new episodes of What the Football with Suzy Shuster and Amy Trask every Tuesday. Watch us on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page or follow and listen wherever you get your podcasts.